Hey everybody, welcome to the Otaku Lifestyle Podcast. It's me, Chris, aka DemonDurrah, here with Wesley. We're without Anime Gino this month, but he sends his regards and well wishes. How you doing today, Wes?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm looking forward to some RPGs hitting Steam this next month. So, there's a whole bunch of
Yes.
stuff to look forward to. So,
Yes, jumping right into it. I figured I would start off with my unpopular opinion this month. Uh, Leave myself up um, to my words out to the slaughter, as it were. Since we don't have our number three, I figured we'd get something big and flashy in to make up for it right at the start. Um, my unpopular opinion is I've been a fan of Final Fantasy VII and the Final Fantasy series as a whole since I was about 5 or 6 years old, and every iteration of Final Fantasy VII that's come out that I've been able to get a hold of, I haven't been able to play all of them. The ones that were on like the 1996 mobile phone and stuff like that uh, has been one of my most beloved games. Now, with that being said, there's been a lot of backlash over them trying to make the 7 remake episodic. My unpopular opinion is the Final Fantasy VII remake needs to be episodic. They need to give us that game in chunks. And frankly, I don't think that the idea that Square Enix is beating a dead horse is necessarily true. But that's partial. I'll get into that one later. Final Fantasy VII is, at its core, a 100-hour game. This game was meant to be played out over 100 hours. You were not meant to sprint through Final Fantasy VII and do only the storyline quests. You were meant to do at least a couple of side quests and other things. You were meant to explore this world, enjoy these characters, live with them, breathe with them, cry with them, everything. With that in mind, you cannot realistically expect Square Enix in the year of our Lord 2018 to reliably be able to release a 100-hour game. What is it? Deus Ex Mankind Divided is like 20 hours, and that game is barely passable. Barely.
you do bring up a good point. Like, nowadays, most games, unless they are open world with no end, with no, like, they
Yeah.
have an end point in their story, but you don't actually have to work towards that end. Unless they are that kind of game, they are typically done within 20 to 50-ish hours.
Yes, and beyond that, Square Enix, they have a real bad track record with releasing big Final Fantasy games recently. We speak about open world. Final Fantasy 15 was garbage when it came out. Uh, they had to add stuff to it. They had to promise DLC. They were giving stuff away for free. And now, finally, in a couple of weeks after the recording of this, we'll be getting the Royal Edition. And the game will finally be finished almost 2 years after it came out. Final Fantasy XIV's release was so botched, they had to give it up. You understand how bad a game release has to be? Where you, the developer, has to be like, oh, mulligan? Do-over? That game had 100 hours of content in it. Final Fantasy XIII was bad. It was not a Final Fantasy game by our standard, by the standards that we are used to. And it was not a game of the quality we were used to. People who play Final Fantasy XII were expecting something similar. Huge open world environment, likable characters, endearing abilities. Final Fantasy XIII gave us an angry lady, a whiny teenager, two characters I still to this day have no idea why they were there, the obligatory black caricature, and Snow.
And snow. I love the
And
way you say that.
and that was a game that was meant to be long. And then it was. They broke it up into chunks. Final Fantasy 13-2 is probably my favorite game in that series, and I refuse to this day to play 13-3. I don't like any game that tries to give me a time limit, especially not a combat-focused RPG. But do we really want Final Fantasy VII to suffer this curse, this brutality that Square Enix puts on its properties?
You know, I'll play the devil's advocate here. I am of the mind that I would love if the game could be done properly with one time. Like one pass, you didn't have to get the next episode involved into it. But at the same time, I also understand that, you know, this episodic fill might be completely necessary, like you stated, because they just wouldn't be able to complete it in a timely manner if they didn't. The game is massive. Let's be fair. It's completely massive. You know, the materia system, the mini games, you name it. They could have their own game for the mini games. You can have your own game for the Golden Saucer, for crying out loud, probably. But, you know, I will still say I would love for them to try to make it in one pass, but I also know in today's standards, with today's graphic advancements, even like if they were to release it on a disc, it would be the first like 5-disc game for this generation of consoles. Like, you would need so many discs because of the amount of graphic output they would try to do with this thing.
So here's where I am, right? Square Enix is one of my most beloved companies. I will give them grief and talk poorly about them till I die, but it's really just because I love them so much and I want them to do right. Now, Square Enix has made Final Fantasy VII in one shot before. They gave us the game all at once back in the 90s. But let's remember now, these were, 64-bit graphics, no voice acting, pretty unbalanced combat system, and it definitely wasn't real time the way they're trying to do it in the new version, right? So we have all that. And then we're coming into 2018, 2019 when this game is going to be released. The standards are different. Beyond that, let's look at what we really are getting in Final Fantasy VII. We want a Final Fantasy game with the materia that evolves as you have it in the weapon and use it. We want a Final Fantasy game with the weapons, Diamond, Emerald, and Ruby, and Ultima. We want a Final Fantasy game with chocobo racing, breeding, the whole nine, and snowboarding, and the crazy bike ride, and Gold Saucer, and the Fight Club. And then we want that to be the same length it was, 100 hours. Think about a 100-hour game. We don't get 100-hour RPGs like that anymore for a reason. Because as soon as we added voice acting and 3D modeling in 1080p, the amount of work that has to go into it to make it workable, usable, playable on day one increases dramatically. This is also, you gotta remember, gone are the days of Square only working on one project at a time. They're working on Final Fantasy VII Remake. They're working on Kingdom Hearts 3. They're working on probably the next numerical entry in the Final Fantasy series. I guess that'd be 16 at this point. Wow, I started at 7. Okay.
Think how old I feel. I started at 2.
And they're working on 100 things. They don't have the resources to devote to have 100-man team for every game. Something's got to give. And in this case, rather than get a 100-hour cut of Final Fantasy VII all at once that sucks and is buggy and it's not out till 2024 and I'm playing 100 other games or I'm working 120 hours a week and I can't even enjoy the game I have, I'll take it in chunks. I'll take one disc at a time if that's what it takes to make the game good. Now, that being said, I am not without a heart. We are in another very important age, the age of the HD collection. I can get 4 Kingdom Hearts games for $50 on my PlayStation 4 right now. One purchase, no issues. Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and I believe Birth by Sleep, all in one collection for $50. When the game is all the way out, when everything's said and done, when that third chapter releases, Square, you have 90 days to announce that you're going to give it all away for free, or give it all away for a discount in a bundle at some point. It's the right thing to do. Okay?
Considering they've been teasing you guys with Kingdom Hearts 3 for a decade almost now. It really has been a long time by this point.
Look, I've been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, I was in the 5th grade. That was 2004. It's been 14 years. It's been 14 years, and I'm now getting to the point where Kingdom Hearts 3 might come out. I want you to think about this. I was in the 5th grade. So, let's do that math. 14 years. And in 14 years, I've gotten Birth by Sleep, 358 Half Days, Recoded, and Dream Drop Distance. 4 games in 14 years. That's about a game every 3.5 years or so. Except 358 Half Days was garbage. Recoded required a friggin' N-gauge or something. And Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop Distance were readily available. I had the PSP, I had the 3DS. Fine. Dream Drop Distance is one of those games that is going to be more appreciated now that it's finally on the PS4 and Xbox. Birth by Sleep is just a good game. It is. It's the Kingdom Hearts game that you deserve if you've been waiting since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. And I hope Kingdom Hearts 3 can follow up on it. So far, the way the visuals and everything looks like it's going to do it. The issue I have with Kingdom Hearts at this point is they've made so many side games with so many characters you have to be invested in to understand how this story goes that I fear this game is going to fall flat because the average gamer in 2018 doesn't have 70 hours plus to devote to learning the story about a game they're trying to play. And the issue we run into is Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 were made in that old era of RPGs, you know? They were made in the PS2. We could still churn out 100-hour games with no problems era because we're going to put a 5-year development time on everything. Kingdom Hearts 1 takes forever. The final mix takes even longer. Kingdom Hearts 2 is worse. Now, that being said, 2 things. Don't you play that final mix crap with Kingdom Hearts 3.
I was waiting for it.
Alright, just give me the game. I've waited 14 years. Give me the whole game one time. Don't make me buy it 3 times. You know I'm gonna, but don't make me do it. Just be cool, Square Enix. Alright? Give us Kingdom Hearts 3. Don't mess up Final Fantasy VII. And make the next main entry in the Final Fantasy series right the first time. Alright, it took them like 9 years to get Final Fantasy 15 out. Final Fantasy 15 was announced, and I was in the 6th or 7th grade, essentially. It came out when I essentially should have graduated college.
It's true. I remember seeing the first teaser trailer for it. Oh, I can't even tell you what year it was. Like, I was just like, oh, this game looks great. And then you completely lost it because it never, you never saw anything else for 4 or 5 years after that.
We got Final Fantasy 12. Then they announced Final Fantasy 13 was going to be this huge universe. And it was going to be 13 versus 13, 13 type 0. And it was all going to be set in this huge universe, and they were all going to be these massive games. 13 came out, and we were like, Then we heard versus 13, and then we saw these cool action sequences, and we saw the character that would become Noctis.
I remember that.
Destroy a bunch of guys with these weapons he was pulling out of thin air. We were like, oh man, it's just like Kingdom Hearts. Also give us that. And then they were like, oh, delay. And they're like, oh, versus 13 is no longer the title. It's not going to be set hard and fast in that universe anymore. It's now called Final Fantasy 15. And it's development times and crap like this that I'm like, okay, Square, just give it to me in episodes. I feel like I can trust you to do that. Just don't hurt me anymore.
Don't beat me while I'm down, please. Just let it happen.
just, yeah, fine. I'll wait a year between each disc of Final Fantasy VII. Just, please, give me a break. Please. Then, and once they do this, right? Once they get past this idea that, once we get past the idea that Final Fantasy VII has to be delivered to us all at once to be good, we get something special. Because you got to think about all the stuff you can do on each disc of Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII Disc 1, you leave Midgar. Also, everybody, if you don't know what's going on, spoilers for a game that's over 20 years old at this point. You leave Midgar, you can get Yuffie, you can get Vincent, you go to the Gold Saucer for the first time, you do Chocobo racing, you get the buggy, you get the Bronco, you get so much stuff on Disc 1 of Final Fantasy VII. And of course, the big moment, the end of an era at the end of Disc 1, the one that every cheat magazine and website for decades is like, oh, there's a way you can get around this. That moment happens. That's a whole game. That's an up and down. There are ups, there are downs, there are mini games, there's side quests. There's 1,000 things you can do. And then Disc 2 has even more stuff. If anything, Disc 3 of Final Fantasy VII is the weak point of the game, and that's not saying much.
We'll say, the Disc 3 pretty much was gather all your ultimate weapons, max out all the materia that you want, and defeat the ruby or emerald weapon because, go get yourself that gold chocobo, get Knights of the Round. That was pretty much Disc 3. Yeah. I mean, you had one massive thing to do for Disc 3, and that was it.
Yeah, Disc 3 was really just, alright guys, it's when the teacher in class goes, just do the work you have for other classes, and hand in whatever assignment I give you by the bell. It's fine. This game is amazing, and Square Enix has done a lot with it over the years. Again, I haven't gotten to play it all. Before Crisis came out the first time, couldn't play it. I was lucky enough to get it on the PSP. Crisis Core. Before Crisis, I've never gotten to play it, and statistically, I don't think I ever will. Dirge of Cerberus, which redefined Final Fantasy VII into a first-person shooter,
was an amazing game.
It was
short, but it was amazing.
I don't like FPS games, but Dirge of Cerberus gave Vincent, who is a character with something around 6 speaking lines in Final Fantasy VII, if you unlock him on time, a personality, likability, the ability to prove to us that he can headline the game on his own. And I think the real tragedy of it is that we complain so much about them abusing the Final Fantasy VII property that we won't get to see more. I'd love to see a Red 13 focused game, or a game about the early years of like Barrett trying to get Avalanche together.
I'd be very interested in seeing a a game about the Wutai Wars.
Yeah.
So where Shinra fought the Wutai.
These are Final Fantasy VII painted a rich history. They worked so hard on Final Fantasy VII, they could barely string together a story for Final Fantasy VIII.
Hey now. No. Let's not play this game. 8 is still one of my favorites in the franchise.
You know what? It's fine. They got a good story and broken gameplay.
That broken gameplay is what makes it. I'm sorry.
Yes.
When you can have 2 characters at level 100 before you even go into the first dungeon, that's called a bad idea.
You have 7 characters and 6 of them get the ultimate weapons on disc 1 out of 4. Yeah, this will be a challenging, fun experience the rest of the way.
Oh, no. If you ever decide to play 8 again, get Quisitus and Squall to level 99, 100 before you go into the Fire Cavern. And you'll get Zell and Seifer whenever you start your seed mission at level 6, and your enemy's base level is going to be 55.
Yeah, and so that they can kill Zell and Cypher so hard that other people are dead too. Yeah, that sounds fun.
What you do? No. See, because your GFs by this point in time will also be ungodly good, so you could definitely make some good decisions with it. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. All
right, we've spoken on about Final Fantasy VII and my unpopular opinion for too long. In conclusion, guys, one last time, I think Final Fantasy VII being split into chapters and it is the best thing for us. If you want this game to be good, you want Square Enix taking their time. They weren't gonna take their time if we made them release it all at once. They were just gonna give us garbage and tell us they were gonna fix it later. I don't want garbage. I don't want to have to fix the game. I want the game to be good.
You don't want to be able to turn on the game and have to wait 45 minutes for a patch.
Yeah, exactly. Now, moving on, Wes, it is it's springtime coming up in the Western Hemisphere where we reside. And this is a point in the year where we discover new things. The groundhog comes out of his burrow, the rabbit's young are born, the birds begin to hatch and such. So I thought it would be a fun idea for us as hosts to go on a journey of discovery. It is my great shame to admit that there are mainstream shows, games, bandwagons that I should have been hopped on 10 years ago that I haven't. And I know everybody else is like this too. So I figured we'd go on all these journeys together. And I believe you have something that you just started recently that you've been waiting to tell everybody.
So I'm a little behind the times with it, but I did recently start watching Fairy Tail. Okay, I know the anime has been out for, at this point in time, its first season I think came out in 2010. So it's almost been 10 years since this started.
I'm pretty sure that show is over, man.
Yeah, it's been done for a while. It's got 200 and something episodes and 3 movies or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm on episode 140 something on Funimation on their website. But I had friends that were always talking about it. And I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. So I started watching it, and I literally marathoned 120 episodes in 5 days. I don't even know what that was all about. It was just really good.
All right. Now, hold on. You pretty much watched the first half of Fairy Tail. Around what episode are you? Now, hold on. We're going to give the warning up one more time. If you haven't watched Fairy Tail like Wesley and you don't know what's going on, you might want to skip ahead or mute your sound for about a minute. So, Wes, what happened on the last episode you watched?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. This was a couple weeks ago because life was gotten a little bit busy. But let's see. The arc I just finished, really, was the Dark Guild's arc with the 6.
Oh, the Rossian 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I did.
Okay.
I finished that, and I'm a little bit past it. I'm not for sure how far past it I am, but the Eurasian 6 was the last primary thing I really remember. I take that back. We are a little bit further past that. I remember these people attack. I remember. So yeah, no, I do actually. I'm way further past the Eurasian 6. They did their skirmish on Fairy Tale's Island, got protected, and fast forward like 10 years.
Oh, ye old time skip. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm in that area. They've already been attacked by the Holy Knights, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm probably on actually more like episode 140 or so, give or take. But a lot, again, when you watch that many episodes in a week and a half, maybe, everything starts kind of blurring together.
All right, well, you're at that point where people started to say Fairy Tail jumped the shark. So I can't fault you on it. Personally, it is my great shame that I have not ever watched all the way through Full Metal Alchemist, the most classic of series. Now, mind you, I went to middle school in America in the 2000s, so I know a lot about Full Metal Alchemist, but I have not actually sat through an entire episode. Now, my plan is I'm going to probably get around 4 episodes a week in, so that by the time we record again next, I'll have watched about 16 to 20 episodes, and then I'll be able to give my first impressions of that. But first impressions on Fairy Tail, well, I don't even know for you if it counts as first impressions. Who's your favorite character? Who do you hate? What do you think?
Man, those are kind of tough questions. My favorite character happens to be the guild leader. I'm sorry, he's just so OP that it hurts. Like, he's insanely, all around, he's one of the best characters. He's doesn't like conflict, but he's able to mediate it. But I think my most hated character, if she's such a good character, is freaking Juvia. I just get so annoyed by Juvia that it's hard to watch some of her scenes because you're just like, I can't even with this woman right now.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that one. The Fairy Tail does a good job of painting pretty strong female characters. And then they give us Juvia, who starts off as a supreme badass and then immediately devolves into just being obsessed about a guy.
Juvia was like when you first get introduced to her and she was beating Gray's behind, I was just like, I like this girl. And then she joined and was all sorts of infatuated with Gray, and I'm just like, you know what? I can't even right now.
You know, it's Juvia is a weird character to get around. Now, when I was watching, the real tearjerker for me in the early episodes was when you figure out what's up with Elfman and Mira. Why she doesn't have her powers, why he only, uses his arms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That whole chestnut. Now, when I first started Fairy Tail, they just weren't. Like, I started Fairy Tail probably right around the time where they were up to the first Dark Guild, the one that tried to kidnap Lucy. So, Lasana was dead when I started Fairy Tail. And then I took a break and I started reading the manga, and they got back from Edolis, and And like that first issue, they're back from Edolis, and they're just in this field, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, our sister's actually been alive this entire time." And I was glad to see it. I was like, "Oh, Elfman was probably one of my favorite characters," but I 100%. That's when I learned the true power that being in Fairy Tail is like being in a soap opera. Yeah, unless you see somebody's head roll across this floor, they're not alive. They're not dead. Like they're not dead. But we spoke a little bit earlier about Full Metal Alchemist. The live action version of it just came out on Netflix. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet because my real human life has been hectic is not a fair word for it at this point anymore. It's been 17 much. That's the only way I can describe it. But the Full Metal Alchemist live action version, my friends and I got together on Saturday and watched like 5 whole minutes of it, and it looks pretty good so far. The first 5 minutes, he says. But Netflix has kind of set a precedent now, yeah? We got a Full Metal Alchemist live action movie in pure Japanese. We got a Death Note movie live action in English.
Could have been so much better had they altered the story for what was, yeah. It was good, but it was bad all at the same time.
Yeah, no. But my thing is right now, there's a lot of anime hugely popular that we could adapt onto Netflix or any other streaming platform as live action films. So that way people who maybe didn't get to watch the show or aren't trying to slog through 100+ episodes sometimes, can get through it, you know?
Yeah.
Can get into the series, can become fans. And these movies have a good chance of sparking interest in the series. You know, I got into the idea of Death Note after watching the movie. I don't know if people are going to get into Full Metal Alchemist after watching this. Now, Gino gave us his recommendation for what he'd like to see Netflix do as live action next, before we started recording. Wes, I want to hear what's up with you. What if you could have Netflix make a movie out of any arc or thing in an anime of your choice? What are you picking? How do you want them to do it? What's good?
Oh man, that is a long list of potentials. Let's see. If I had a choice of a live action that I haven't seen, let's just go with one that I haven't seen another company make. Let's go with, man. This is going to sound really weird because it's a newer one, but I would actually like to see them try to do a Log Horizon live action.
Okay, that's new. How is
it would? I don't know how exactly they would do it because it's about being trapped in a virtual world, but you don't see anything really of the real world beforehand. It would be a very interesting way to do it, but I would think they would have to do it in multiple parts because even though it's a newer anime, it's got 50-something episodes to it. So doing all of those episodes as one movie would probably be too laid on heavy, I guess you can say. There would be just too much going on in it.
Yep.
But breaking it up into 2 primary arcs for it would probably work just fine. Kind of what they did with the Attack on Titan movies and the Rurouni Kenshin movies. Because I wanted to see a Rurouni Kenshin movie for a long time, a live action, and then they did 3 of them in Japan, and I was just like, well, that does that.
I actually would like to see a movie adapted more, maybe in the style of Death Note, but I would want them to avoid making some of the glaring mistakes that Death Note did. I think my vote for a movie I'd want to see adapted into live action the most, but I would want it to be, the full 9, fully voiced English voice actors, possibly. My vote actually goes into the first couple of arcs of Bleach. I think that there are some really cool fights, really cool interactions, really cool people in those first couple of Bleach arcs that would just be awesome in a real adaptation. Now, mind you, after they get back from Soul Society, no.
We can skip like 50-something episodes after that point.
But so much happens from the beginning of Bleach to the end of Soul Society, he gets his powers, he gets his his base form, he gets his Bankai, he gets he meets all these others, he gets an idea of how this thing goes, and then you do like this little teaser at the end of the movie, or maybe the second movie, where you see his dad is looking at him and is like, oh, that's my boy. And like maybe his dad is like in the mirror or something. You see like a reflection of him standing in his Reaper uniform,
Right?
Something like that. Like that would be cool. Also, Bleach is pretty much the least respectable manga that is well known by human people at this moment in time. So it's got nothing to lose.
But if they did make it the way they did Death Note, they would have to alter the story a little bit, or still make it take place in Japan. But I mean, they'd have to change something, because Death Note, the movie itself was okay. The premise of using the original story for the setting is what made it not so great.
Okay, no, that's 100% fair. Now, you have Log Horizon, I have Bleach, and Gino gave us one that I think is really interesting. He says he wants to see the Namek saga of Dragon Ball Z adapted into something live action. Now, in this day and age where everybody's complaining about too much CGI in their live action movies, he wants the singular arc of Dragon Ball Z where 2/3 of the characters we see are green, purple, have horns, have 4 eyes. I don't think Dragon Ball Z had an arc with more aliens that look unhuman in it than Namek. Not a real like canon arc that wasn't filler. Like the Cell Saga and the Android Saga really only had like a couple androids, the Cell Juniors and Cell. The Buu arc was close, but not really. The Frieza and the Namek Saga had 15 unique characters that would need to be CG.
Well, I mean, unless you could find those people who are still really good at special effects makeup, which is actually a really dying breed at this point in time.
Yeah.
So.
But I would be down for it on 2 counts. Right? I would watch it regardless, but I think there are 2 ways to make it work 100%. Right? Follow me on this. You get Willem Dafoe to play Captain Ginyu.
Yes! Yes!
Alright? And Andy Serkis to play Frieza.
That would make for a brilliant movie. Just with those 2 alone.
Because Ryuk in the Death Note live action movie was by far, by a wide margin, the best character in that film. And, right?
They did a very impressive job with the CG, and then William Dafoe almost looks like Ryuk. Let's just, I mean, like,
and
you
Captain
can't deny that.
Captain Ginyu kind of has a gaunt face and a low, like he's kind of thin in his looks. Mm-hmm. So I think Willem Dafoe will be a fine Captain Ginyu. We get like Triple H to play Raccoon, right?
Yes.
Let's see. Who? Look, we can make it work. We just need to get some good talent,
right?
For the key parts. And in this case, the key parts are just about everybody but the Z Fighters. Goku, Gohan, Krillin. We can get whoever. We can use the animated versions of them in every scene for all I care at that point. We need some good, because the villains in Dragon Ball Z are kind of the ones that drive that plot forward.
They're the ones with the most personality inherent in each of their arcs. Because the Z Fighters, you kind of have a chance to kind of get to know over time, and the villains, you have to get to know their personality really quick. So yeah.
Also, the more we learn about Goku, the less likable a protagonist he is, to be completely honest. There was a point in Super where Goku was being complimented on, oh, hey man, you saved the world time and time again. And Goku just says, I'm not really trying to save the world. I just like fighting strong guys. Oh, thanks, jerk. Like, you don't care if we all die?
I mean, we've already had this conversation that he's probably the poorest example of a father figure.
Goku is the worst dad in media. The short of anybody who's outwardly abusing their children, Goku is the worst parent in media. And now, before we wrap up, we have a couple more things. It is coming to that season where it's time to get your con tickets. And in con season, there's a lot to do. So I figured we'd go over the next couple of sessions and talk about a couple different aspects of it. But it's still in the planning phases of con season. So, Wes, do you have anything you're planning to try to make it out to this year? Is there anything you're into? Anything you want to see? What's the plan?
Well, I am going to try to make it out to a few conventions this year. A-Fest down in Dallas, mm-hmm. which is a 4-day convention down there. I'm going to try to hit that one this year. And that's in the middle of summer, so that's still got a while to go. Non-DesCon up in Colorado is at the end of summer, and I want to try that one. I used to live in Colorado, so it's really nice to go back to it. Mm-hmm. One that I really want to try to hit, but I probably won't because the tickets for it sell out kind of quick or are really expensive, is Gen Con up in, I think it's Illinois. I'm not, can't quote me necessarily on it, but it is more of your tabletop kind of convention. And I'm an all-around geek, so I mean, that's 100% my style right there.
I got you. I'm out on the East Coast, but I actually live easily within commuting distance to New York Comic-Con in the fall. It's still very easy, very, very early to be talking about it, but I live very close to it. I live on the suburbs, pretty much outside of New York. Maybe about an hour and 15-minute train ride or so for me to get there and back. So it's a pain to get tickets, but I might try to convince my friends to head out there this year for the culture, as they say. Get some cosplay on, sit down for a couple of panels, do more than just wander around the show floor and try to and see what everybody's up to for once,
Yeah, sometimes it's really hard for me to get into a convention. More or less, it's really hard for me to get into panels. There are some panels that are really easy to go into and enjoy, and then there's other ones that whenever you go into a panel and the panelist isn't prepared, you lose interest really fast, and you almost feel like you're about to waste an hour of your time. But I mean, they're hit and miss.
I got what you.
But
to be fair, the last time we went, I kind of missed out because my friends had all prepared to go to one particular panel for a series I had never seen. Because it was gonna be like a huge discussion panel. Because and this dates how long it's been since I've actually been to con. I believe they were going to watch the finale of Nisei Koi premiere live at New York Comic Con.
Are we talking the first season of Nisei Koi?
I think the first one.
Yep, now we can say that with a matter of fact that was a reasonably long time ago now.
I think it was the first one. And I remember my friends being psyched to go, and I just stayed home that entire day. I was like, I hadn't seen one episode of Nisei Koi, and I wasn't going to just go watch the final episode. And,
You mean you don't read your books from the last page going forward? You want to read it from the beginning?
No, I don't start at the end, and then work my way backwards. So, they all went to watch the finale of Nisei Koi season 1, and I didn't. But this year, I'm gonna go if I can. Try to convince the friends to go. Make everybody make a plan to see which panels we're gonna go see well in advance. I'm gonna beat Comic-Con if I go this year. But that is well in advance, and we'll have other con topics to talk about over the next couple of months as various shows crop up. We get more into the season, we get ready to go, we buy our tickets and prepare to go ourselves. But it is an anime and otaku podcast, so we couldn't let you guys go without one last little nudge. Wes, is there anything coming out in the spring that you're particularly looking forward to this year? Anything what's in March or April that you're wanting to get into?
Let's see. March or April?
Yeah.
I am looking at a few of them, to be honest, and that's only because people have told me I should watch it. One that I'm definitely watching is the third season of My Hero Academia.
Mm-hmm.
That is a definite on my list because I got so addicted to that. Like I've marathoned that show 2 or 3 times now.
Reach.
Like at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, and then I just put it on in the background as background noise. Before I knew it, I was 35 episodes in, and I was just like, yep, this needs to continue yesterday. You've got Full Metal Panic Invisible Victory, which comes out in April.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a fan of Full Metal Panic for 15 years, so the fact that they're getting a new season or a new series of it so many years later after it originally came out, I'm kind of excited to see what they do. You've got... I've found this weird that this is coming out, but I'm very interested in it. Lupin the Third, Part 5.
They're still making Lupin the Third?
I haven't seen a new Lupin the Third in many, many years. But this one looks like it's going to be a new one in at least 12 episodes, I think. At least. So it might continue for 24, because most of I think the seasons of Lupin the Third are 24 episodes. Again, don't necessarily quote me on that, because it is an older anime, so it would have jumped around a lot. It would have had a 12-episode season, a 24-episode season, maybe a 13-episode season, like throughout the reign of thing. you also have the last one that I'm really, really looking forward to. I say that with a heavy heart because there's a lot of things actually I'm looking forward to. Most of the other ones are things that I'm looking forward to continue, though, not to start anew. Is Persona 5 the animation. That starts in April also. So, I mean, I'm extremely excited for a lot of titles coming out. And I know there's probably at least one or two that I didn't mention that you might be waiting on, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see what you have to say, and then I'll add one if you don't mention it. So.
Well, you know what I am about to say, because in April they are serving the fourth course of Food Wars.
That's the one I was thinking you would be saying.
The show that I get all of my cooking skills from.
We all wish we could cook like those guys. Let's be honest.
And my now Food Wars takes up a lot of my anime time because I gotta watch it, then I gotta try to find the recipes online, then I gotta realize I don't have the facilities to cook the recipes, then I gotta cry. But that's probably my big one, because my other one was going to be Hero Academia, but I'm 1,000,000% sure that season's going to be amazing. And I read the manga, so I don't follow the anime too much of Hero Academia, but I am going to religiously watch this series, because just from the promo art, I know some of my favorite episodes are going to be in there. And, I can't wait to see that. So my favorite, when you read the manga and see that your favorite chapter is going to get animated, it's a special, special time. I'm really hoping we get to the animation of what would have been manga chapter 100 this season, but I'm not sure about that.
That might be pushing it a little bit.
It is, but they're at the point where they're trying to release Hero Academia like once every 8 months. So I'm feeling okay.
That is true. I am there are a lot of interesting looking titles for next season. So I am, other than the ones that I've already mentioned, there are some ones that probably are going to be worth a watch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun, and I think it's going to be a real exciting experience. But I think it's about time for us to wrap up, Wes. So, you got anything else to leave him with?
Coming up in March, guys, there are 2 RPGs that you have to take a look for. In fact, coming up in March 6th, you've got the release on Steam, like we already mentioned earlier, Final Fantasy XV. That hits Steam on the 6th, and then I don't remember the exact date for it, because I don't know if it got pushed back again, but I do believe later in March is Ni no Kuni 2. So if you like that, there's another good JRPG for you. How about yourself? Do you have anything else to add?
No, you pick up that Royal Edition on March 6th. Ni no Kuni 2 should be out March 23rd. And other than that, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to say follow me at DemonDurrah wherever you can. Twitter. I might start streaming on Twitch if I get enough of an idea and maybe figure out a game that people would enjoy watching. And Wes, you are at Pro RPG just about everywhere, right?
Just about everywhere. I am RPG Pro on Facebook, so follow me on those mediums. I will start streaming some JRPGs pretty soon. I'm putting a list together, probably start with older titles and work my way to some newer ones.
Alrighty. We want to thank you guys so much for listening, bearing with us. Please like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you want us to talk about next. Give us an idea of what you want us to integrate into the Lifestyle Podcast. We appreciate it more than you can imagine. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.